The moon hung low, silver and watchful, over the dense forest of Eldenwood. Shadows shifted as the wind whispered through the trees, carrying the faint scent of wet earth and pine. In the heart of this ancient wilderness, the Alpha King's pack thrived, a kingdom ruled by strength, instinct, and the unspoken bond of loyalty. Among the pack was a young wolf, barely more than a pup in the eyes of the elders, but already notorious for his coldness toward every female who entered their territory. He was a striking lichen, fur as dark as midnight, eyes a piercing amber that could freeze a soul in place. Everyone called him Kale, the Alpha King's son, the heir to the throne, but unlike his father, Kale despised women. No female could approach him without being met with snarls, cold glares, and a palpable aura of danger. He had never understood them, never trusted them, and the pack had long stopped trying to introduce potential mates. The Alpha King, Kyle's father, ruled with wisdom and patience, but even he could not penetrate the icy wall around his son's heart. Then, one fateful night, the forest's peace was broken by a soft, fearful cry. Kyle's ears twitched. His amber eyes narrowed, catching movement near the riverbank. A small figure, an omega wandering alone, had stumbled, her foot caught in the underbrush. She was fragile, trembling, her brown hair damp with rain, eyes wide with terror as a pack of wild wolves approached from the shadows. Kyle's instincts kicked in. With a powerful leap, he landed between her and the danger, teeth bared, eyes blazing. "Stay back." His voice, deep and commanding, echoed through the clearing. The wild wolves hesitated, sensing the alpha blood radiating from him. The omega froze, her lips parting to speak, but no words came out. Kale noticed her trembling and, for reasons he didn't understand, felt an unfamiliar tug in his chest, a strange mixture of protectiveness and curiosity. He barked sharply, driving the intruders away. Once they had vanished, the forest returned to its eerie silence. The omega fell to her knees, gasping for breath. Kale studied her. Her scent was different, weak, fragile, yet warm and oddly comforting. He had no time for weaklings. Yet something about her presence stirred something inside him, something he hadn't felt for anyone ever. Who are you?" he asked, his voice softer than he intended. "I am Mara," she stammered, looking up at him with wide, fearful eyes. "Please, I didn't mean to trespass. I was lost." A cow's tail twitched in irritation. "Lost in my forest?" His words were sharp, but there was no real anger in them, only curiosity. "You're lucky I don't leave you for the wild wolves." Mara shivered, wrapping her arms around herself. "I am cold, hungry. Please, can you help me?" Kale blinked. His amber eyes softened, though he refused to let her see it. No female had ever dared ask him for help. He was not the nurturing type, not ever. Yet something about Mara made him pause. Something about her fragility made his instincts rebel against his long-standing hatred. "Stay here," he said finally. "I'll bring you food." As he disappeared into the shadows, hunting silently with the precision of a born alpha, Mara watched him go. There was something terrifyingly beautiful about him, something that made her heart pound in ways she couldn't explain. Kale returned, a freshly caught rabbit dangling from his jaws. He dropped it at her feet without a word, and she knelt to eat, too timid to speak. Watching her, Kale felt a strange, dangerous warmth bloom in his chest, a feeling he had never felt toward any woman. "Why are you helping me?" she asked between bites. Kyle's ears twitched. He couldn't answer. Words felt useless. So instead he muttered, almost to himself, "Because I said so." Mara looked at him, puzzled, yet there was a spark of understanding in her eyes. Something about him made her feel safe, even in the face of his cold, dangerous aura. That night, Cal returned to his den, but he could not shake the image of Mara, her trembling hands, her frightened eyes, her soft scent. And somewhere deep inside, something that had been dormant for years stirred. He hated women, every woman. But Mara was different. The next morning, when Kale returned to the clearing, Mara was gone. Panic surged through him in a way he had never expected. He was the Alpha King's son, the strongest in the pack, feared by many, yet the thought of her wandering alone sent a shiver of dread down his spine. And then, it happened. He called her name, not realizing the words had slipped from his lips in a tone he didn't recognize. Soft, protective, and almost tender. "Mara, come back." From the shadows, Mara emerged, hesitant, unsure. When she reached him, Kale felt a strange, undeniable bond form. The pack sensed it too, a connection that went beyond mere instinct. It was as if fate itself had tied them together. Little did Kale know, this fragile Omega would be the one to challenge everything he believed about women, loyalty, and even himself. And that night, under the watchful eyes of the silver moon, Kale whispered something that shocked even him. "Stay with me, Mom." Part 2. The Omega in the Alpha's den, the first light of dawn filtered through the thick canopy, painting the forest floor in muted golds and silvers. Kyle led Mara through the winding paths of Eldenwood, silent and alert, his senses stretched to the limit. Every rustle, every shift in the wind, every faint smell told him something, yet nothing felt more urgent than the small fragile presence beside him. Mara stumbled slightly, her legs trembling from exhaustion. Kyle's amber eyes softened, just for a fraction of a moment, before the usual cold mask returned. He reached out, steadying her with a hand that was rough, calloused, yet startlingly careful. "You're weak," he said, though the words lacked their usual bite. "You won't survive long out here alone." Mara nodded silently, her eyes wide. She was terrified, yes, but also mesmerized. Kale was unlike any man she had ever seen. Strong, commanding, dangerous, yet there was something quietly protective, almost gentle, lurking beneath the surface. Finally, they reached the Alpha King's den, a massive stone and timber structure hidden deep within the forest, guarded by the loyal members of the pack. Kale stopped at the entrance, his body rigid, a king surveying his domain. "Wait here," he ordered. Mara froze, obeying instinctively, but he hesitated, his tail flicking as he glanced back at her. "You stay close. Don't wander." Mara's lips parted to speak, but no words came. She simply nodded. Inside the den, the Alpha King, Kel's father, observed silently from his throne-like seat. His silver fur gleamed in the dawn light, and his eyes held the wisdom of centuries. "Father." Kel's voice was low, almost reverent. "She's here." The Alpha King's gaze shifted to Mara, and for the first time, she felt the weight of centuries-old authority pressing down on her. Yet, there was no malice in his eyes. Instead, a curious twinkle, like he had been expecting her all along. "You brought her here?" the Alpha King asked, his voice calm, deep, and resonant. She was alone, Kale muttered. She needed help. The Alpha King studied Mara carefully, and Omega lost, unprotected. His eyes shifted to Kyle. "And you called her, Mom?" Kale's ears twitched. He hated the word, yet it had slipped out naturally. His heart thumped in a way that made him feel exposed. Mara, unaware of the significance, whispered, "Mom." Kyle's jaw tightened. Don't call me that," he snapped, but the anger didn't reach his eyes. Mara flinched slightly, but there was a strange hope glimmering in her gaze. The Alpha King rose from his seat, moving closer. "This pup of mine, he doesn't like women, he hates them, but he doesn't hate you." Kale's ears flattened in embarrassment. Silence," the Alpha King commanded. "She will stay here, Kale, under your protection, until she earns her place." Mara's heart skipped. Her place, in the den of the most powerful pack in Eldenwood. The Alpha King's son, the one who despised women, was to guard her. Kyle's jaw tightened. He hated the arrangement already, and yet every instinct in his body screamed that he could not let anything harm her. Days passed. Mara began to learn the rules of the den. The other pack members were cautious, curious, some even wary of this fragile Omega who had stepped into the heart of their world. But Kale watched her like a hawk. Every movement she made, every glance she cast, he tracked with a meticulous intensity that unsettled even her. She tried to speak to him, to break the wall he had built around himself. "Kale, why are you protecting me?" she asked one night, as they sat by the fire in the den's central hall. Kale's amber eyes glinted in the flickering light. "Because you're here, and because I said so." Mara's cheeks flushed, but she pressed on. "But you hate women, every woman." Kale's jaw tightened, and he looked away. "I don't hate you. Not exactly." Mara felt something warm stir inside her chest, a dangerous mixture of hope and fear. She had no idea how a wolf so fierce, so untouchable, could feel anything for her. Yet, the truth was undeniable. Kyle's protectiveness, his rare flashes of gentleness, his silent glances. They told her he was beginning to change. And Kale, he could not deny it either. Every moment she lingered in his presence, every small act of bravery or kindness from her, chipped away at the walls he had built over years of hatred and mistrust. The pack began to notice the shift. Even the Alpha King raised an eyebrow. This pup, who had hated all women, was becoming attached. One night, Mara was caught in a storm outside the den. Rain lashed against the trees, and wind howled like a living creature. Kale found her shivering beneath the branches, her frail form trembling. Without a word, he lifted her into his arms and carried her back to the den. "You're mine," he growled softly, more to himself than to her. "Don't ever wander alone again." Mara, warm and safe in his powerful embrace, whispered, I will stay with you." Kale's heart thundered in his chest. She didn't know it, but that simple sentence would bind their fates together, forever. And for the first time, Kale understood that perhaps hatred could be replaced by something much stronger. Part 30 Secrets of the Pack. Days turned into weeks, and Mara slowly began to adjust to life within the Alpha King's den. She learned the routines, the pack hierarchy, and the unspoken rules that governed life in Eldenwood. Yet, no matter how accustomed she became, she could never shake the feeling of being watched. By Kale. Kyle's gaze followed her constantly, sharp and alert, always measuring, always protective. It was suffocating, and yet strangely comforting. Mara couldn't understand why a wolf so cold, so fierce, would care for her so deeply. Every time their eyes met, she felt a pulse of electricity, a connection that went far beyond instinct. But the den was not without its dangers. Some pack members whispered behind her back, curious and suspicious of the fragile Omega who had entered their world. "Do you really belong here?" one older wolf murmured, his voice dripping with doubt. Mara swallowed hard. I don't know," she admitted softly. Cal, who had been listening from the shadows, growled low, a dangerous rumble that silenced the room instantly. "She stays," he said, his voice cold as steel. "She is under my protection." Anyone who questions that will answer to me." The room fell silent. Even the oldest, most rebellious wolves dared not challenge him. Mara's chest tightened with a mixture of fear and awe. Kale wasn't just a protector, he was a force of nature, and she was utterly, irrevocably under his control. That night, Mara found herself alone in the den's central hall, reading by the fire. The shadows danced along the walls, and the wind outside howled like a restless spirit. She couldn't sleep, her mind spinning with thoughts of Kale, the Alpha King, and the strange pull she felt toward this dangerous world. "Can't sleep?" a low voice asked behind her. Mara jumped, nearly dropping her book. Kale stood there, his amber eyes glowing in the firelight, the sheer presence of him making her heart race. "I am fine," she stammered, though her voice betrayed her nerves. Kale stepped closer, the heat radiating from him impossible to ignore. "You're not fine," he said softly, almost reluctantly. "You're scared. You don't belong here, and yet, you're still here." Mara's eyes met his, and she saw something in him that no one else had ever seen: uncertainty, vulnerability hidden behind the sharp edges of his pride. I want to stay," she whispered. "Even if it's hard. Even if I don't understand everything." Kale's jaw tightened, and he looked away, struggling with emotions he didn't know how to name. "You shouldn't feel safe with me," he admitted. I don't do this. I don't care for anyone like this." Mara stepped closer, her small hand brushing his arm. "You do care," she said softly. "I can see it even if you try to hide it." Kale's body stiffened. He had never let anyone get this close, had never allowed his walls to be breached. And yet, something about Mara, her courage, her warmth, her innocence, was breaking through him in ways he couldn't control. Before he could respond, the Alpha King entered the hall, his presence commanding and serene. "Kale," he said, his voice calm but firm. "It's time you learned the truth about our pack." Kale's eyes narrowed. "What truth?" The Alpha King gestured toward Mara. "She is not here by mere chance. She has a connection to this pack, an ancient bond that has been waiting to awaken. You will understand soon, but you must protect her at all costs." Mara's breath caught. A bond. What did that mean? She had always felt out of place, unwanted, alone. But now Kale, the fierce, unyielding pup who hated women, was bound to her. Kale's amber eyes met hers, a silent promise flickering in their depths. "Whatever this is, I will protect you," he growled. "Even if it kills me." And in that moment, under the watchful eyes of the Alpha King and the silver moonlight filtering through the hall, Mara realized that she had become more than just a helpless Omega. She was the key to a destiny far greater than she had ever imagined, and the only one who could thaw the icy heart of the Alpha King's pup. But danger loomed in the shadows, and Mara's presence in the den would not go unnoticed forever. Secrets of the pack, long buried and deadly, were beginning to surface, and Kale's heart, once frozen and untouchable, was about to be tested like never before. Part 40. Shadows of the past. The forest outside the den was alive with the whispers of night. Crickets chirped, the wind sighed through the leaves, and the moon hung heavy, silver and watchful. Mara had never felt so both terrified and alive. She had begun to understand the hierarchy of the Alpha King's pack, but understanding didn't protect her from the dangers lurking in the shadows. Kyle, ever vigilant, refused to leave her side. He followed her through the den's corridors, his presence a constant, comforting weight, but also a reminder of the walls she could never fully breach. Every glance, every movement, every twitch of his tail communicated ownership, possessiveness, and something deeper, something he refused to name. That night Mara heard the first warning, a whisper of claws against stone, too deliberate to be a mere animal. She froze, and Cal's ears pricked, his body tense like a drawn bow. "Stay close," he growled, his voice low and dangerous. "No one touches you." Mara's heart raced as shadows shifted in the corners of the den. A figure emerged, a rogue wolf, exiled from another pack, eyes gleaming with hunger and malice. "You're far from home, little Omega," the intruder sneered. "What's a fragile thing like you doing in the Alpha's den?" Kale stepped forward, a growl rumbling from deep in his chest, shaking the walls. "Back off," he commanded, his voice layered with danger. "Or you'll regret it." The rogue lunged. Kyle moved like lightning, blocking the attack, his strength and precision unmatched. The den erupted into chaos, wolves snarling, teeth bared, fur flying, but Mara remained frozen, not out of fear but shock. Kale was relentless, fierce and yielding, and every movement, every growl, every protective action was aimed at keeping her safe. Finally, the intruder fled into the night, leaving the den in tense silence. Kale stood over Mara, his chest heaving, eyes glowing amber in the dim light. "Are you hurt?" he demanded, his voice softer now, almost desperate. Mara shook her head, tears pricking at her eyes. "I am fine, thanks to you." Kyle's jaw tightened, and for the first time, he allowed a flicker of vulnerability to show. "Don't ever wander off alone again," he growled, but his eyes betrayed the truth. He couldn't bear the thought of her being in danger. The Alpha King arrived shortly after, calm but authoritative. He studied Mara with an intensity that made her skin prickle. "This is only the beginning," he said. "Her presence here has awakened old tensions, old enemies. And Kale, you must prepare yourself. Protecting her will be more dangerous than you've ever imagined. Mara's mind spun, old tensions, enemies. She had only just arrived, and already her life had become a whirlwind of fear, fascination, and inexplicable connection. Kyle, silent and brooding, escorted her to her quarters. She noticed his hand linger near hers, a small, almost subconscious act of ownership and care. The moment was broken by a sudden realization on Mara's part, one that chilled her to the bone. You're calling me Mom," she whispered, recalling the moment that had shaken Kale so much. "Why did you say that?" Kyle's amber eyes blazed, but he didn't answer. He couldn't. He hated the word, hated the implication, hated how it made his chest ache. "I don't know," he admitted finally. "It just slipped." Mara's heart thumped in her chest. That simple word, spoken in the heat of instinct and emotion, had bound them together in ways neither of them fully understood. She was beginning to see that Kale, the Alpha King's feared and untouchable pup, was not as unbreakable as he seemed. But danger was not done with them yet. A secret, long buried in Mara's past, began to stir. A truth that could shake the foundations of the Alpha King's den and the very bond she was forming with Kale. That secret was waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. And when it did, nothing in Eldenwood would ever be the same again. Part 5. The hidden past. The dawn broke over Eldenwood like a whispered secret, soft gold spilling through the dense canopy. Mara sat by the edge of the river, watching the water ripple and sparkle, but her mind was elsewhere. Haunted by shadows of a past she had long tried to forget, Kale appeared silently behind her, his presence a comforting weight. She didn't need to look to know he was there. He always was. "You're restless," he observed, his amber eyes studying her from the corner. "Your scent, it's unsettled." Mara's lips trembled. "It's nothing," she whispered, but Kale wasn't convinced. He stepped closer, his massive form radiating a protective heat that made her pulse quicken. "You can tell me," he urged, his voice low, almost intimate. "Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Not here. Not with me." Mara swallowed, memories flooding back, painful, bitter memories she had buried deep. The night her family had turned their backs on her, the shame of being abandoned, and the loneliness that had followed for years. She had been unwanted, unloved, and invisible. I wasn't always safe," she admitted finally, her voice barely audible. "My family, they didn't want me. I was a burden, a mistake." Kale stiffened, his amber eyes darkened with a mix of anger and sorrow. No one ever spoke about their past in front of him. And yet, hearing her speak so vulnerably, he felt a strange, powerful urge to protect her, not just from others, but from the pain of her own memories. "You're not a mistake," he growled, voice low and fierce. "You're mine to protect, and I will never let anyone hurt you again." Mara's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't turn away. She felt the intensity of his gaze, the raw power in his stance, and the truth in his words. For the first time in her life, she felt seen, valued, and safe. Kale knelt slightly, bringing himself closer to her level. "Do you understand?" he demanded softly, almost pleadingly. "No matter what, I am here. And you're not alone." The word, Mom, echoed in his mind, the word he had uttered almost instinctively. Mara's fragile presence had awakened something in him, something fierce and protective, something he hadn't felt for anyone before. Mara reached out, brushing a damp strand of hair from his face. "Kale, I trust you," she whispered, her voice trembling but resolute. Kyle's heart thundered. He didn't know how to respond. His instincts screamed to claim her, to protect her, to keep her close. But his mind, long trained in discipline and control, hesitated. Yet the pull was undeniable. He couldn't ignore it. The sound of movement in the trees shattered the fragile moment. Kyle's ears pricked, his body tensing like a coiled spring. A figure emerged. Wolf from a rival pack, exiled for treachery, eyes glinting with malice and intent. "You don't belong here, Omega," the intruder hissed, a cruel smile spreading across his face. "And I've come to take what's mine." A Kale's growl rolled through the forest, low and menacing, a warning that shook the very air. Mara instinctively stepped behind him, but Kale's protective instincts flared. "You touch her," he snarled, "and you'll answer to me." The rogue lunged, but Kale moved faster than the eye could follow, intercepting the attack with lethal precision. The fight was brutal, teeth clashing, claws raking, and the scent of fear and blood mixing in the night air. Mara watched, heart pounding, as Kale fought not just for himself, but for her. Every strike, every snarl, every growl was a declaration she belonged to him, and no one would ever take her. When the intruder finally fled, Kale turned to Mara, panting, fur-matted, eyes blazing with a mix of fury and something softer, something that only she could see. "You're safe," he said, voice low and raw. "I swear, no one will hurt you while I'm here." Mara stepped closer, her small hands brushing against his chest, feeling the steady, powerful rhythm of his heart. "Kale, thank you," she whispered. Kyle's amber eyes softened, and in that moment, something shifted irrevocably. The pup who had hated every woman had found someone who could break through the walls of his heart. The Omega who had been abandoned, shunned, and unloved had found someone who would never let her be alone again. and as the moon rose high over Eldenwood, casting silver light over the two of them, the bond between Cale and Mara deepened, a bond forged in danger, trust, and an unspoken promise that neither of them would ever forget. But the shadows of the past were not done yet. Secrets still lingered, threats still lurked, and the pack's destiny, and theirs, was far from decided. Part 60 Secrets in Jailazzy. The den was unusually quiet that morning, the tension lingering like a heavy fog. Cale sat at the edge of the central hall, ears twitching at every sound, eyes scanning for any hint of threat. Mara, meanwhile, was cleaning and organizing the small corner of the den she had claimed as her own. She could feel Cale's presence even when he wasn't speaking, a constant, silent force that kept her grounded and, at the same time, made her pulse race. The pack was stirring, whispering among themselves. Some wolves dared to approach Mara now, testing the boundaries of the Alpha King's decree. Cale's amber eyes followed each interaction, sharp and watchful, his protective instincts flaring. One young female, a silver-furred wolf named Leora, approached Mara with a friendly smile, unaware of the tension simmering beneath the surface. "Hello," Leora said softly. "It's nice to finally meet you. I've heard a lot about you." Mara smiled nervously. Thank you. I'm still learning the rules here." Before Leora could respond, Cale appeared beside Mara like a shadow, his amber eyes narrowing, his jaw tightened, and the low growl rolling from his chest made Leora freeze. "You're too close," Cale muttered, his voice deadly calm. "Step back." Leora's ears flattened. I didn't mean, step back," Cale repeated, louder this time, his gaze locking onto hers. The message was clear. Mara was his. The words weren't spoken aloud, but every movement, every look, every growl screamed it. Mara felt a strange mixture of fear and warmth. She had never known a wolf who was so possessive, so unwavering. Yet there was no malice in Cale's tone when it came to her, only a fierce, unwavering protectiveness. After Leora retreated, Cale turned to Mara, his amber eyes softening ever so slightly. "Don't worry about them," he said quietly. "No one touches you." Mara's heart thumped. "Cale, He cut her off with a hand on her shoulder, firm but gentle. "You don't have to say anything. Just trust me." The day passed in uneasy quiet, but as night fell, Mara's thoughts turned to the secrets hinted at by the Alpha King. There was something about her past, something she had yet to understand, that connected her to the pack in ways beyond simple fate. Later, while Kyle slept restlessly near the entrance of her corner, Mara explored an old chest left behind by a previous Omega. Inside, she found a small bundle of letters and a faded medallion. Her fingers trembled as she read the letters. They spoke of a child born to a lineage tied deeply to the Alpha King's bloodline, a child abandoned for reasons that were never fully explained. Her breath caught. Could it be her? Could her arrival in Eldenwood, her inexplicable bond with Cale, and the Alpha King's cryptic words all point to a truth she hadn't yet dared to consider? Before she could process the implications, Cale stirred, opening one amber eye. "Found something interesting?" he asked, his voice low and curious, yet possessive. Mara held up the medallion, her hands shaking. I think this belonged to my family, but it's connected to this pack." Cale's eyes narrowed. He studied the medallion, his lips pressing into a thin line. "Where did you get this?" "In the chest," Mara admitted. "There were letters too. They speak of a child, a lost Omega, tied to the Alpha bloodline." Kyle's tail lashed, a mix of agitation and uncertainty rippling through him. "You're saying you might be part of this pack by birth?" he asked carefully, his voice almost a whisper. Mara nodded slowly, the weight of revelation settling over her. I don't know for sure. But it explains why I felt drawn here. Why you care for me so much." Cale's amber eyes softened, and for a fleeting moment the fierce, untouchable pup melted into something vulnerable. "No matter what," he said, his voice low and fierce, "you're mine. Bloodline or not, you belong with me." Mara's chest tightened. The bond between them, forged in danger, trust, and undeniable attraction, had become even deeper, more tangled with fate and family secrets than either of them had anticipated. Outside, the forest whispered, as if aware that a storm of truths and desires was brewing, a storm that would challenge Cale, Mara, and the entire pack in ways no one could yet imagine. Part 7 Testing Bonds. The sun had barely risen over Eldenwood when the den stirred with unease. Whispers of Mara's possible lineage spread quickly among the pack. Some wolves were curious, some skeptical, and a few resentful. Cale noticed it all, his amber eyes sharp, his body tense, every muscle coiled like a predator ready to strike. He didn't care about whispers or doubts. Mara was his. She always had been, in ways neither of them fully understood, and yet the thought of others encroaching on her, even emotionally, sparked a storm of jealousy he could barely control. That day, while Mara practiced moving silently through the forest, a training Cale insisted she learn for her own protection, another female approached her. A striking Omega named Celine, known for her charm and cunning, stepped into their path. Hello Mara, Celine said smoothly, her eyes glinting with curiosity. "I've heard so much about you. Perhaps we could talk." Cale's ears flattened. His growl rumbled low in his chest, a warning more primal than words. Mara stepped back instinctively. But Kale moved in front of her, placing himself as a barrier. You don't speak to her, he warned, voice sharp, dangerous. Do you understand? Celine's eyes widened, but she smiled, unfazed. You don't need to be so protective, Kyle. I mean no harm. Kale's amber gaze burned into hers. Protective? No, I'm making it very clear that she's mine. No one touches her, speaks to her like that, or challenges her place in this den. Do you understand? Celine's smile faltered, and she took a cautious step back. Mara could see the tension radiating from Kale, the possessiveness so strong it made her heart pound. After Celine left, Kale finally relaxed slightly, though his eyes never left Mara. Do you understand? He asked her quietly, softer now, but still intense. Mara nodded, cheeks flushing. I understand, she whispered. The truth was, she liked the possessiveness, the way he claimed her. It made her feel wanted in ways she had never known before. Kyle's tail brushed against her arm, a silent, comforting reassurance. Good, he murmured, because no one will ever have you but me. As night fell, Mara couldn't shake the feeling of unease. Kyle's jealousy, though protective, revealed just how deep his feelings ran, and also hinted at dangers they had yet to face. Her past, their bond, and the pack's reaction to her presence were all threads in a web that was tightening around them. Later, while Kale rested his head near hers, she couldn't help but voice her curiosity. Kale, if I am part of this pack by blood, what does that mean for us? Kale lifted his head, amber eyes searching hers, intense and unwavering. It means nothing changes, he said firmly. You're mine, bloodline or not, that doesn't matter. I protect you, I claim you, that's all that matters. Mara's heart fluttered, his words, his unwavering gaze, the heat of his presence. It all made her feel safe and desired in a way that frightened and thrilled her at the same time. But their moment of closeness was interrupted by the rustle of movement outside the den. Cal's ears twitched, body tensing like a coiled spring. Mara's pulse quickened, the forest whispered warnings. There were others watching, waiting, and the calm of Eldenwood was only temporary. Kale rose, towering and fierce, eyes glowing in the moonlight. Whatever comes, no one will take you from me, he growled, voice like thunder. Not now, not ever. Mara pressed closer to him, her warmth mingling with his, and for the first time, she truly understood the depth of their bond. It was more than protection, it was possessiveness, it was trust, it was something raw and undeniable. And Kale, the pup who had hated every woman, was proving that he could love, claim, and protect her with every ounce of his being. Outside, the shadows stirred, and the night promised that tests of loyalty, danger, and desire were only beginning. Part 80 Bloodline revealed the night in Eldenwood was thick with tension, shadows stretching like fingers across the forest floor. Mara and Kale stood atop a rocky outcrop overlooking the den, the moonlight casting a silver glow over the trees. The air was crisp, charged with anticipation, as if the forest itself knew that secrets were about to be unveiled. Kyle's amber eyes were fixed on Mara, his body taut with protective energy. Something's coming, he said, his voice low and dangerous. I can feel it. The pack, the forest, they're restless because of you. Mara shivered, both from the cold and from the weight of his gaze. Me, she whispered. Why me? Kale stepped closer, placing a hand on her shoulder, firm but steady. Because you're not just any Omega, he growled softly. You are part of this pack in ways that even you don't understand yet, and someone will try to use that against you. Before Mara could respond, the Alpha King emerged from the shadows, his silver fur gleaming in the moonlight. His eyes held both wisdom and gravity. Mara, he began, his voice resonant, it's time you knew the truth about your lineage. You are not merely an Omega wandering into Eldenwood. You are the last descendant of the original bloodline of our pack. Mara's eyes widened. Bloodline, she repeated, heart racing. You mean I belong here? The Alpha King nodded solemnly. Yes, your arrival was never by chance. Your family, your parents, they feared the power in you. That is why you were abandoned. But now, you are here, and your presence strengthens our pack. Kale's eyes softened as he watched her absorb the revelation. His protective instincts flared even higher, but now they were mixed with reverence. Mara wasn't just his Omega. She was the key to the future of their pack. Suddenly, a rustle of movement erupted from the forest. Cal's ears pricked. Mara's pulse quickened. Out of the shadows emerged a rival pack, exiled and vengeful, led by a massive wolf with eyes like molten gold. You've taken what's ours, the leader snarled. The Omega with the bloodline belongs to us. Kale stepped in front of Mara, growling, muscles coiled for battle. She belongs to me, he snarled, voice like thunder. No one touches her. Not you, not anyone. The battle erupted beneath the silver moon. Wolves clashed, fur flying, teeth bared. Kale fought like a whirlwind, every strike precise, every movement deadly, yet every action was driven by one purpose, to protect Mara. Mara, though frightened, felt a surge of strength she didn't know she possessed. The bloodline within her awakened, a latent power connecting her to the pack and the forest. She could feel the energy of Eldenwood responding to her, the trees, the wind, and the wolves themselves bending subtly to her presence. Kale glanced at her mid-battle, amber eyes blazing. Focus on me, he shouted, Stay close. Mara obeyed, instincts sharp, and together, they became an unstoppable force. The rival pack, fierce and cunning, could not match the bond between the Alpha King's pup and the Omega of the bloodline. When the last intruder fled, the forest fell silent. Kyle's chest heaved as he stepped to Mara, his gaze locking onto hers. Are you hurt? He asked, voice raw with emotion. Mara shook her head, still trembling but smiling. I'm okay, she whispered. Thanks to you. Kyle's jaw softened, and he pulled her close, brushing a strand of wet hair from her face. You are mine, he murmured, almost a growl. Bloodline or not, no one else will ever claim you. Mara's heart thundered. And I, she whispered, pressing against him. I'm yours. Under the silver light of the moon, the Alpha King's den felt complete again. Mara's bloodline was revealed. The rival threat had been repelled, and Kale, the pup who hated every woman, had found the one he could never let go. But even as they embraced, the forest whispered of more challenges to come, of secrets yet untold, and of a destiny that would test their bond, and their hearts, in ways neither of them could yet imagine. Part 9's an awakening power. The forest was alive with whispers as dawn broke, sunlight filtering through the thick canopy in golden streaks. Mara felt different, stronger, sharper, and aware of every shift in the wind, every rustle of leaves, and every subtle movement of the pack around her. The bloodline she had discovered was not just a title, it was a power, one that she could feel pulsing through her veins, connecting her to Eldenwood itself. Kyle watched her from across the den, amber eyes narrowed and intense. He sensed it too, the change in her. Every step she took, every glance she cast, radiated strength and potential that went far beyond the fragile Omega he had first encountered. You feel it, he growled softly, stepping closer, his presence imposing yet protective. The bond, it's awakening. And it's dangerous. You can't let the pack, or anyone else, exploit it. Mara nodded, still trying to control the surge of energy within her. I don't know how, she admitted. It's a part of me, but I can't control it fully yet. Kale's tail flicked, restless. Then I'll teach you, he said, voice low and commanding. And if anyone, tries to take you from me, I'll destroy them. Mara's chest tightened at his words, but there was warmth in them, too, a fierce protectiveness that made her heart ache. She realized then that Kale's hatred of women was gone, replaced by something far more intense: possessiveness, admiration, and an unbreakable connection that neither of them could deny. Training began. Kyle led her through the dense forest, teaching her to sense danger, to move with the pack's rhythm, and to channel her newfound abilities. She could feel the forest responding to her presence, bending subtly to her will. Trees shifted, the wind whispered, and even the river seemed to recognize her. But the more powerful she became, the more Kyle's protectiveness intensified. Other pack members, both male and female, began to notice the bond between them, and Kale's jealousy flared. One particular wolf, a male named Riven, tried to approach Mara during training. Kale's growl cut through the forest like a blade. Step back, Kale warned, his voice low, dangerous. She's mine. Mara's cheeks flushed. Kale, it's okay, she whispered, though the heat of his jealousy made her pulse race. No, Kale said, his amber eyes locking onto hers. You don't understand. No one touches you, no one even looks at you like that without my permission. Do you understand? Yes, Mara breathed, both overwhelmed and secretly thrilled by his possessiveness. That night, as they returned to the den, Mara felt her power surge again, uncontrolled. She could sense danger even before it arrived. Footsteps in the shadows, whispering of old rivals plotting in the darkness. Kale noticed immediately. He pulled her close, protective and possessive. Tell me what you feel, he demanded, his voice harsh yet gentle. Don't hide anything from me. I sense them, Mara admitted, trembling. Rival pack, they're planning something. I don't know what, but it's coming. Kale's amber eyes blazed. Then we prepare. Together. He pressed his forehead to hers, a rare moment of intimacy and reassurance. Nothing will touch you. Nothing. Do you trust me? Mara nodded, pressing closer, feeling the heat of his body, the power of his presence, and the undeniable connection that had grown between them. Always, she whispered. Outside, the forest seemed to lean in, listening. The Alpha King's bloodline had awakened, the bond between Kale and Mara had deepened, and their enemies were stirring. The stage was set for a storm that would test their love, their strength, and their very survival. And in that moment, Mara understood the truth fully. She was not just Kale's Omega. She was his anchor, his power, his mate, and together, they would face whatever darkness dared to challenge them. Part Hyundai first clash. The forest of Eldenwood was restless that night, shadows moving unnaturally, as if warning the den of the approaching storm. Mara and Kale stood at the edge of the clearing, side by side, muscles tense, senses alert. I can feel them, Mara whispered, her hands tightening into fists. Her bloodline pulsed like a drumbeat in her veins, connecting her to every rustle, every scent, every heartbeat of the forest. They're close, watching, waiting. Kale's amber eyes narrowed, sharp and unyielding. Then let them come, he growled. His presence radiated power and dominance, a warning that none could ignore. No one touches my Omega. The first sign came as a distant howl, low and threatening. Mara's fur bristled instinctively. The rival pack had arrived, bold and furious. From the shadows, wolves with sharp eyes and cruel teeth emerged, circling them like predators closing in on prey. Kale stepped in front of Mara, a living shield. "Stay behind me," he ordered, his voice calm but deadly. "I won't let them harm you." Mara shook her head. "No, Kyle. I'm not just hiding. I can help." Kale's eyes softened slightly, a flicker of pride shining through his possessive glare. "Stay close. Trust me," he said. The battle erupted. Claws tore through underbrush, teeth clashed, and growls echoed like rolling thunder. Kale moved with lethal precision, every strike calculated to protect Mara. Mara, guided by instinct and her awakening power, mirrored his movements. Together they were unstoppable, a synchronized force of raw power and fierce loyalty. A large male wolf lunged at Mara, but Kale intercepted instantly, snapping his jaws just inches from the intruder's throat. "Don't touch her," he roared. Mara felt a surge of energy flow through her, her bloodline awakening fully. The wind swirled around her, leaves and branches bending to her presence. She could feel every wolf in the vicinity, their intentions, their strength, their weakness. With a flick of her wrist, she sent a wave of energy that knocked the intruders back, giving Kale the opening he needed to strike. When the last wolf fled into the darkness, the forest fell silent. Kyle's chest heaved, muscles tense, and his amber eyes found Mara's. She stood there trembling but fierce, a fire burning in her gaze that matched his own. "You," Kale began, voice low, almost a growl. "You're incredible." Mara stepped closer, brushing a damp strand of hair from his face. "We're incredible," she whispered. "Together." Kale's jaw tightened and he pressed his forehead to hers, amber eyes smoldering. "No one will ever hurt you again," he vowed. "I'll kill anyone who tries." Mara smiled softly, heart pounding. "I trust you, Kale." Completely for a moment. The world outside disappeared. The forest, the pack, the rival threats, all gone. There was only Kale, his heat, his power, and the bond that had grown between them through danger, trust, and unspoken desire. As they stood together under the silver glow of the moon, Kyle's tail curled around Mara protectively, and she leaned into him, feeling the strength of his presence and the intensity of his claim. The Alpha King's pup, who had hated every woman, had found the one he would protect, fight for, and claim forever. But even as they held each other, Mara knew this was only the beginning. The rival pack would return, the forest would challenge them, and the true test of their bond, their love, their power, and their destiny, was yet to come. Part 11. Healing and Desire. The aftermath of the battle left the den quiet but tense. Wolves moved cautiously, repairing damages and checking for injuries. Mara and Kale sat together in a secluded corner, the adrenaline of the fight slowly ebbing, leaving a charged, intimate silence between them. Cal's amber eyes lingered on her, scanning for signs of harm, yet also drinking in her presence. "You didn't hold back today," he said, voice low and rough, filled with both admiration and something deeper, darker. Mara shifted slightly, feeling heat creep up her neck. "Neither did you," she whispered. "You fought for me, for us." Kale's lips twitched into something resembling a smirk, though his eyes were serious and tense. "I'll fight for you every day," he murmured. "Every second. No one, no thing will ever come between us." Mara's heart thudded painfully against her chest, his words, his proximity, the raw power radiating from him. It was overwhelming and thrilling all at once. She felt the pull of their bond stronger than ever, a magnetic force drawing them together. Cal's hand brushed her cheek softly, his thumb tracing her jawline. "Do you feel it too?" he asked, voice barely above a growl. "The bond, our connection? It's not just about survival, it's more." Mara leaned into the touch, shivering. "I feel it," she admitted. "Every time I'm near you, it's like I can't breathe if you're not here." Kale's amber eyes darkened, intense and feral. His protective instincts were mingled now with desire, possessiveness, and something that scared him because it was too raw, too consuming. He lowered his forehead to hers, the heat of his body enveloping her. "Then stay close," he whispered. "Stay with me always." Mara's hands trembled as she wrapped her arms around him, feeling the powerful rise and fall of his chest, the strength coiled in his muscles, the warmth that made her feel both safe and alive. "Always," she whispered back, sealing the promise. The den seemed to fade around them. There were no rival wolves, no forest dangers, no pressing threats. Only Kale and Mara, the intensity of their bond undeniable, consuming and fierce. Kyle's lips brushed hers lightly, testing, claiming, a spark igniting that left them both breathless. Mara leaned into him, her hands threading through his fur, feeling the pulse of his heartbeat matching her own. "You belong to me," Kale murmured against her lips, low and possessive. "And I'm yours." "I am?" Mara whispered, her voice trembling with emotion and desire. "I've always been yours." The first kiss deepened, slow and consuming, a collision of passion, trust, and the unspoken promise that neither of them could, or would, let go. Kale's hands roamed possessively over her, while Mara's fingers clung to him, grounding herself in his strength and surrendering to the storm of emotions he stirred within her. For the first time since arriving at the den, Mara understood the true depth of the bond she shared with Kale. It was more than bloodline, more than destiny. It was raw, fierce, and utterly consuming. And Kale, the Alpha King's pup who had once hated every woman, had become the center of her world, just as she had become the center of his. Outside, the forest whispered and watched, as if acknowledging that the bond between them had reached a new, unbreakable intensity. And while the threats of rivals and the mysteries of her bloodline still lingered, for this night Kale and Mara were untouchable. Together, fierce and bound by love, loyalty, and desire. Part twilight trials of power. The morning sun filtered through the dense canopy of Eldenwood, casting golden streaks over the den. Mara awoke to the faint rustle of leaves and the low, steady breathing of Kale beside her. The previous night's closeness had left a lingering warmth in her chest, a mix of comfort, desire, and unspoken promises. But peace was fleeting. Mara could feel it in the air. The tension, the anticipation, the subtle warning of danger that pulsed through her bloodline. Her powers, still awakening, thrummed in her veins, alerting her to every shadow, every movement in the forest surrounding the den. Kale stirred beside her, his amber eyes opening slowly. "You feel it too, don't you?" he murmured, his voice low and tense. Mara nodded, her hand brushing against his chest. "Something's coming, I can sense it." Kale's jaw tightened. "Then we prepare. You've grown stronger, but these trials, they will test you and us. I won't let anything happen to you, Mara." The first wave of the trial came as a scout from a rival pack, a female with fur as black as midnight, eyes glinting with malice. She tried to infiltrate the den, testing defenses, looking for weaknesses. Mara's senses flared. She rose, the latent power of her bloodline surging through her. Trees shifted slightly in response, leaves trembling in the invisible force she projected. The intruder froze, unnerved by the sudden display of raw energy. Kale's growl rolled like thunder as he intercepted the female wolf, muscles coiled and ready. "Step back," he warned, voice low and menacing. "She's mine. Don't touch her." Mara stepped forward, her aura radiating power, and the intruder stumbled back, overwhelmed by the strength emanating from her. The bond between Kale and Mara was palpable, an unspoken, unstoppable force that neither rival nor predator could reach. After the intruder fled, Kale turned to Mara, amber eyes blazing with a mixture of pride, desire, and possessive intensity. "You're incredible," he said, voice rough and low. "Your power, your strength, it's beyond anything I expected." Mara's cheeks flushed, both from his words and the heat of his gaze. "I couldn't have done it without you," she whispered, stepping closer, feeling the magnetic pull of their connection. Kale's hands gripped her shoulders gently but firmly. "You're mine?" he murmured, possessive and fierce. "Bloodline or not, no one touches you but me." Mara's pulse raced, her heart hammering in sync with the intensity of his gaze. "I'm yours," she whispered, leaning into him. "Completely." The rest of the day passed in training and preparation. Kale taught her to focus her abilities, channel her bloodline energy, and move seamlessly with him during combat. Every touch, every word, every glance intensified their bond, weaving together trust, desire, and a deep, unbreakable connection. By nightfall, Eldenwood was quiet again, but both Mara and Kale knew that this calm was only temporary. More threats lurked in the shadows, waiting to challenge them, test their strength, and probe the limits of their bond. Kale pulled Mara close, his forehead resting against hers. "Whatever comes," he murmured, voice rough with emotion, "we face it together. No one will ever take you from me." Mara pressed her hands to his chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart beneath her palms. "Always," she whispered, "together always." The forest around them seemed to acknowledge their vow, leaves rustling softly as if in agreement. And while danger still lingered on the horizon, Mara and Kale had grown stronger, more united, more powerful, and more entwined than ever. Their love, their bond, and their destiny were unstoppable, and nothing in Eldenwood could break them. Part 30 Bloodline Unleashed. The night was alive with danger. Eldenwood's shadows twisted unnaturally as if sensing the coming storm. Mara stood at the edge of the den, senses heightened, pulse racing. Her bloodline thrummed through her veins like wildfire, each beat echoing through the forest, connecting her to every leaf, every gust of wind, every heartbeat of the pack. Kyle appeared silently beside her, massive and fierce, amber eyes glowing with intensity. "They're coming," he murmured, low and dangerous. "The rival pack, they want you. They want to use your power." Mara clenched her fists, feeling the energy surge uncontrollably. "I'm ready," she whispered, determination fierce in her eyes. "I can do this with you." Akale's gaze softened for a brief moment before hardening again. "Good," he growled. "Because no one takes what's mine." From the darkness emerged the rival pack, their eyes gleaming with malice. Their leader, the massive wolf with molten gold eyes, stepped forward. "The Omega belongs to us. Hand her over, or face destruction." Kale growled, a deep, rolling sound that shook the ground. "You will get nothing," he snarled. "She is mine. She is part of this pack. And if you come any closer..." He didn't need to finish. Mara's bloodline surged, a visible aura of shimmering energy radiating from her. The intruder stumbled, taken aback by the raw, undeniable force. Kale moved with her, their movements perfectly synchronized. Claws and teeth struck with precision, but Mara's newfound power added a supernatural edge to their fight. Branches bent, the wind howled, and the forest itself seemed to respond to her presence. Every strike Mara delivered was amplified, every motion enhanced by the power flowing through her bloodline. She could feel the connection to Kale deepening with every heartbeat, the bond that had grown from trust, protection, and undeniable desire. During a particularly close strike, Kale caught Mara in his arms, their bodies pressed together amid the chaos. His amber eyes locked onto hers, fiery with possessiveness and longing. "You're mine," he growled, voice low and fierce. "Do you understand?" Mara's heart pounded. "I am yours," she whispered back, pressing herself closer, feeling the heat of his body, the strength in his embrace, and the undeniable pull of desire that surged between them. With a final synchronized assault, the rival pack fled into the shadows, defeated and humiliated. Mara's aura slowly faded, leaving her trembling but exhilarated. Cal held her close, pressing his forehead to hers, amber eyes softening with awe and possessiveness. "You were incredible," he murmured, voice husky. "Stronger than I ever imagined. My Omega, my mate, you're everything." Mara's hands threaded through his fur, her heart racing. "We did it together," she said, breathless. Kale's lips brushed hers softly, possessively igniting a fire between them. "Always together," he whispered against her lips. "Always?" The forest around them seemed to sigh in acknowledgement, leaves rustling softly as if bearing witness to the bond that had grown unbreakable in the fires of battle. Mara's bloodline had awakened. Kyle's devotion was unshakable, and their connection, fierce, passionate, and eternal, had been cemented in both love and battle. But even as they held each other, a whisper of more dangers lingered in the shadows, hinting that Eldenwood's trials were far from over. Mara and Cal's story was only beginning, and the fire between them burned hotter than ever before. Part 4: Recent Secrets of the Bloodline. The den was quiet the next morning, the forest around Eldenwood holding its breath. Mara sat near the river, the water reflecting her face in the pale sunlight. Her bloodline had awakened fully, but with that power came questions, mysteries about her past, her family, and her connection to the Alpha King's lineage. Kale approached silently, his amber eyes fixed on her with intensity that made her pulse quicken. "You've changed," he murmured, voice low and commanding. "Stronger, sharper, more dangerous." Mara looked up, cheeks flushed at the compliment hidden within his warning. "I feel it," she admitted. "It's like I can sense everything, everyone. But I don't understand it fully yet." Kale knelt beside her, his massive form casting a protective shadow over her. "Then I'll teach you," he said, a growl of determination underlying his words. "The bloodline is powerful, Mara, not just because of strength or abilities, but because it connects you to the pack in ways even the Alpha King can't always control. You have to learn to use it, or it could consume you." Mara nodded, excitement and fear mingling in her chest. "I want to learn with you." Kale's tail brushed against her arm possessively, amber eyes softening. "Then stay close," he murmured. "No one touches you. No one teaches you but me." As they began her training, Kale guided her through exercises designed to awaken her senses, sharpen her instincts, and channel her bloodline power. Trees bent subtly to her will, the wind carried whispers of the forest, and Mara could feel the pack itself responding to her presence. Hours passed in rigorous training, and the bond between them deepened further. Every touch, every guiding hand, every whispered word of encouragement or warning carried unspoken desire. Kale's possessiveness burned hotter with each moment, and Mara's trust and attraction to him grew alongside her power. Finally, as dusk fell and the forest bathed in the glow of a silver moon, Kale pulled her close. "You've done well today," he murmured, voice husky. "Stronger, sharper, more than anyone could have imagined. And yet," Mara looked up at him, curiosity and anticipation mingling in her gaze. "And yet?" she asked softly. Cal's amber eyes darkened with intensity, a mix of desire, pride, and possessive heat. "You belong to me," he growled softly, his forehead pressing to hers. "Not just as my Omega, as my mate. No one else will ever claim you. Do you understand?" Mara's breath caught. I do," she whispered. "I'm yours completely." Kale's lips found hers in a possessive, lingering kiss, one that ignited every nerve in her body. His hands held her close, grounding her in the heat of his presence, the power of his protection, and the undeniable connection that had grown between them through battle, trust, and desire. When they finally parted, Mara rested her forehead against his chest, feeling the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. "Kale, I never knew it could feel like this," she whispered. "To be wanted, to be protected, to be loved." Kale's growl was soft but intense, vibrating through his chest. "You're mine," he said again, possessive and unwavering. "Every part of you, every heartbeat, every breath. And I'll never let anyone take you from me." The forest around them seemed to whisper in agreement, the leaves rustling softly, the river murmuring in harmony with the bond they had forged. Mara's bloodline had awakened, Kale's devotion was absolute, and their connection, fierce, passionate, and unbreakable, was a force no one in Eldenwood could challenge. But even as they embraced, A shadow lingered at the edges of their paradise. A rival pack plotting, secrets yet to be uncovered, and challenges that would test not only their strength but the depth of their love. And Mara knew one thing with certainty: whatever came next, she and Kyle would face it together, bound by blood, bond, and desire. Part 15. The Revel's challenge. The night was tense, heavy with the scent of danger. Eldenwood's shadows stretched long and twisted, mirroring the unease in the den. Mara and Kale stood at the forest's edge, senses heightened, muscles coiled. Her bloodline pulsed strongly, a constant thrum that connected her to the pack, the forest, and to Kale himself. "They're close," Mara whispered, her voice tense. "I can feel them watching, waiting." Kale's amber eyes narrowed, muscles tensing, tail lashing in irritation and possessiveness. "Good," he growled. "Let them come. No one challenges me and survives." From the darkness emerged a group of wolves, stronger and fiercer than the last time. At their forefront was a tall, menacing wolf with silver, flecked black fur and eyes glowing gold. Ravik, a rival alpha exiled years ago but returned with a vendetta. "The Omega belongs to us." Ravik barked, teeth bared. "Hand her over, Kale, and perhaps I'll let you live." Kale's growl rolled like thunder. "She's mine," he said, voice low and feral. "You don't touch her. You don't even breathe near her." Ravik snarled and charged. Kale met him head on, claws slashing, teeth snapping. Mara followed, unleashing her bloodline power fully. Trees bent subtly to her will, the wind whipping around her, leaves spiraling in controlled chaos that pushed the rival pack back. The forest itself seemed to rise in defense of Mara. Wolves stumbled against unseen forces, their attacks failing as Kale and Mara moved as one. Every strike they made was synchronized, a perfect rhythm born of trust, love, and an unbreakable bond. During a close clash, Kale pinned Ravik to the ground, growling deep in his chest. "This is your final warning," he hissed, amber eyes blazing. "Touch her again, and you die." Ravik spat and tried to bite, but Mara's energy surged, her bloodline power flaring, forcing him back. "She's not just yours to protect," Mara called out, voice strong and unwavering. "I'm part of this pack. I am stronger than you think." Ravik staggered, clearly shaken by her force. Cal's chest swelled with pride and something more: desire, possessiveness, and an overwhelming need to claim her completely. When the last of the rival wolves finally fled, Mara and Kale stood amidst the wreckage of the forest, breathing heavily. Mara's aura still shimmered faintly, her bloodline pulsing with raw energy. Kale stepped close, pressing his forehead to hers, amber eyes softening yet still fierce. "You're incredible," he murmured, voice husky with emotion and desire. "Stronger than I ever imagined. My Omega, my mate, you're everything." Amara's fingers traced the line of his jaw, heart pounding. "We did it together," she whispered. Cal's hands gripped her waist, pulling her close. "Always together," he growled softly, lips brushing hers in a possessive, fiery kiss. "Mine, completely mine." Mara melted against him, the heat of his body, the ferocity of his devotion, and the unbreakable bond between them igniting a fire neither could ignore. Outside, the forest seemed to whisper its approval, leaves rustling softly, moonlight glimmering across the trees. Eldenwood had witnessed the power of their bond, the strength of their love, and the unshakable unity of Kale and Mara. But even as they embraced, Mara knew this was only the beginning. Revel's secrets, and the full scope of her bloodline power were yet to challenge them. And with Kale by her side, she was ready to face it all, fierce, fearless, and utterly bound to the pup who had once hated every woman but now claimed her entirely. Part 16c. Hidden Power Awakens. The forest was eerily silent the next morning. Eldenwood seemed to hold its breath, as if sensing the storm that was yet to come. Mara stood near the edge of the river, her reflection shimmering in the water, bloodline power thrumming through her veins stronger than ever. She could feel it now, a hidden ability lying dormant until the right moment, waiting to be unleashed. Kale approached silently, every muscle coiled, amber eyes gleaming with both concern and desire. "You feel it too, don't you?" he murmured, voice low and commanding. Mara nodded, her pulse racing. "Something's changing," she admitted. "I feel stronger, but also restless, like I'm meant to do something more." Kale's tail lashed lightly, protective energy radiating from him. "Then we'll uncover it together," he growled. "No one touches you. No one challenges your strength. You are mine, Mara, always." Hours passed as they trained near the river, the moonlight turning to gold as the sun rose. Mara's power surged, the energy of her bloodline awakening fully. She discovered she could manipulate the forest subtly. Wind bending to her will, roots shifting beneath her feet, even the distant sound of rival wolves reaching her ears before they approached. Kyle watched with fierce pride and possessive heat, his hands occasionally brushing hers during training, every touch sending sparks of electricity through both of them. Their bond had evolved beyond protection. It had become something primal, magnetic, and dangerously intimate. As dusk fell, the enemy made their move. Ravik, furious after his previous defeat, led a larger contingent of exiled wolves to strike. This time they were smarter, faster, more coordinated. Kyle growled, muscles taut. "Stay close," he ordered, amber eyes blazing. "I will not let them touch you." Mara didn't hide. She stepped beside him, letting her bloodline energy flare in full force. Trees bent, wind roared, and the forest itself seemed to rise with her, creating barriers and attacks that repelled the intruders. During the chaos, Cale fought with lethal precision, every strike deadly, but he couldn't help stealing glances at Mara, admiring the way her power had grown. His possessiveness mixed with desire, each glance igniting a fire that neither could ignore. At a critical moment, Revik lunged toward Mara, teeth bared. Cale reacted instantly, blocking the attack and pinning him to the ground. "She's mine," he growled, amber eyes blazing with unrestrained fury. Mara's hidden ability surged, energy rippling outward like a tidal wave, knocking the rival wolves off their feet. Ravik was forced to retreat, defeated once more, his eyes wide with fear and disbelief. Kyle caught Mara in his arms, pressing her close. You were incredible," he murmured, his lips brushing hers, "stronger than I could have imagined. My Omega, my mate, mine completely." Mara's hands trembled as they traced the line of his jaw, heart pounding. "Well, we are unstoppable together," she whispered. Kyle's possessive growl rumbled through his chest as he pressed her closer, amber eyes blazing with passion and love. "Always together," he said fiercely, lips claiming hers in a deep, fiery kiss that left no doubt about their bond. The forest around them seemed to hum in approval, leaves rustling softly, moonlight glimmering across the trees. Eldenwood had witnessed the awakening of Mara's bloodline power and the unbreakable connection between her and Cale. But even as they embraced, a shadow lingered. Whispers of more enemies, secrets yet to be revealed, and challenges that would test not only their strength but the depth of their love. Mara knew one thing for certain with Cale by her side. She was ready for anything, fierce, fearless, and utterly bound to the pup who had once hated every woman but now claimed her entirely. Part 1. Teeny fire and desire. The forest of Eldenwood was thick with tension, shadows stretching long under the silver light of the moon. Mara and Cale had barely recovered from the last battle when another threat emerged. A rival faction of wolves, more cunning and vicious than ever, had gathered to challenge their dominance and claim Mara's bloodline power for themselves. Cale's amber eyes blazed as he moved beside Mara, muscles coiled and protective energy radiating off him like heat from a flame. "Stay close," he growled, voice low and dangerous. "I won't let anyone touch you." "Not now, not ever." Mara met his gaze, feeling the pull of their bond stronger than ever. "I'm not hiding," she said, voice firm. "I fight with you." Cale's growl was low and possessive. "Good, but don't underestimate your strength. Your bloodline is powerful, but only together can we control it fully." The rival wolves struck, emerging from the shadows with teeth bared and claws extended. Mara and Cale moved as one, every glance, every touch, every motion perfectly synchronized. Mara's bloodline flared, energy rippling outward, bending the forest to their will. Trees twisted, roots surged from the ground, and the wind roared in unison with their power. During the chaos, Cale pressed Mara against him to shield her from a sudden strike, his body warm, solid, and possessive. Amber eyes locked on hers, burning with intensity. "You're mine," he growled, lips brushing hers in a fiery, possessive kiss that left them both trembling. Mara responded with equal heat, her hands threading through his fur, feeling the raw power and desire emanating from him. "And I'm yours," she whispered, breathless. "Completely." The battle raged around them, but for Mara and Cale, the world had narrowed to the other. Their bodies pressed together, their connection a force stronger than any enemy. Her bloodline power surged, controlled and amplified by her bond with Cale, knocking the rival wolves back, disoriented and terrified. When the last of the intruders fled into the darkness, Mara and Cale stood amidst the ruins of the forest, breathing heavily, hearts pounding in sync. Cale's hands gripped her waist, amber eyes softening yet still smoldering with possessive fire. "You've grown beyond anything I imagined," he murmured, voice husky with emotion and desire. "Stronger, braver, and utterly mine." Mara pressed herself against him, her heartbeat racing, lips brushing his chest. "We are unstoppable together," she whispered, warmth and power radiating from every word. Kyle's lips found hers again, a kiss deep, possessive, and consuming, igniting a fire that left them both breathless. His hands roamed over her, grounding her in his strength and claiming her fully in a way that left no room for doubt. The forest around them seemed to breathe with them, leaves rustling softly, moonlight shimmering across their forms, acknowledging the bond that had grown fierce, unbreakable, and all-consuming. As they held each other, Mara understood fully Kyle, the Alpha King's pup who had hated every woman, had become the center of her world, just as she had become the center of his. Their love, their bond, and their destiny were intertwined, and no threat in Eldenwood, or beyond, could break them. But even as they embraced, Mara knew that greater trials awaited. Enemies lurked in the shadows, secrets were yet to be revealed, and the true test of their power, passion, and unbreakable bond was still to come. Part 18. Legacy and Danger. The moon hung low over Eldenwood, silver light spilling across the den. Mara sat in a quiet clearing, her senses tingling, bloodline power thrumming through her with a rhythm that echoed the heartbeat of the forest itself. She could feel the pulse of her ancestors, the legacy she carried, the true depth of her bloodline calling her forward. Cale approached silently, massive and silent as ever, amber eyes sweeping over the trees before landing on her. "You're restless," he murmured, voice low and commanding, though softer than usual. Mara nodded. "I can feel it, a hidden part of me, a legacy I've never known. It's calling, but I don't understand it fully." Tail knelt beside her, tail brushing the ground protectively. "Then we'll uncover it together," he said, possessive fire lacing his words. "No one touches you. No one interferes with your destiny." Before Mara could respond, a shadow moved in the trees, subtle, calculated, and silent. Her instincts flared and her bloodline surged in response. "Kale, someone's here," she whispered, senses sharp. Kyle's body tensed immediately, growl rolling deep in his chest. "Stay behind me," he ordered, amber eyes blazing with fury and protectiveness. From the shadows stepped a lone figure, a female wolf with fur as dark as midnight and eyes gleaming with cunning. "So this is the Omega everyone speaks of," the intruder hissed. "The one tied to the Alpha King's pup. Hand her over or face consequences." KL snarled, muscles coiled like a predator ready to strike. "She's mine, you don't touch her. You don't even look at her like that." Amara stepped forward, letting her bloodline flare visibly, energy radiating outward. The intruder froze, startled by the raw, uncontainable power. Mara's aura pulsed with the strength of generations, the connection to Kale, and the promise that no one could ever claim her. Kyle pressed close, body flush against hers. Amber eyes met hers, smoldering with desire and possessiveness. "You're mine," he growled softly, forehead brushing hers. "No one. Understand." Mara's chest rose and fell rapidly, heart pounding. I am yours," she whispered, letting the bond between them fortify her strength. The intruder hesitated for a fraction of a second. Enough. Kale lunged with lethal precision, teeth and claws striking in a blur. Mara's bloodline power flared, wind and energy rippling outward, knocking the enemy off balance. Together, they became a force impossible to challenge, two halves of the same unbreakable whole. When the intruder fled, defeated and wary, Kale caught Mara in his arms, holding her tightly. "You're incredible," he murmured, lips brushing hers in a possessive, smoldering kiss. "Stronger than I imagined, my mate, my Omega, mine entirely." Mara trembled in his arms, heat and desire coursing through her. "Well, we are unstoppable together," she whispered, hands pressing against his chest, feeling the steady, unyielding power beneath her fingers. Kale's amber eyes darkened with intensity, his possessive growl vibrating through his chest. "Always," he breathed against her lips. "Always together, always mine." The forest seemed to acknowledge them, leaves rustling softly, the river murmuring a lullaby of approval. Eldenwood had witnessed the awakening of Mara's full bloodline power, the unbreakable bond between Kale and her, and the fierce, all-consuming love that tied them together. But even in that moment of triumph, Mara sensed it. The shadow of enemies yet to come, secrets still buried, and trials that would test the strength of their love, the depth of her legacy, and the unyielding fire of their bond. Mara and Kale stood together, united, fierce and ready. The Alpha King's pup and his Omega, bound by destiny, blood and desire, would face whatever came next together. Part 9 Dine Secrets and Storms. The forest of Eldenwood shivered under a rising wind, carrying a sense of foreboding. Mara's senses were alive with her bloodline power, every rustle, every heartbeat, every shadow screaming a warning. She knew something was coming, something bigger, more dangerous than any rival pack they had faced before. Kyle appeared silently at her side, his amber eyes narrowed, muscles coiled and tense. "You feel it too?" he murmured, voice low and fierce. "They're testing us, probing for weaknesses. But they won't find any." Mara nodded, heart pounding. "I feel it and something else. My bloodline, it's showing me a hidden strength, a weapon I didn't know I had." Kyle's eyes softened slightly, but his protective energy flared immediately. "Then we use it," he growled, placing a possessive hand on her waist. "Together, no one touches you." As night fell, a shadow moved through the trees, a coordinated strike from a rival faction, more numerous and organized than before. Ravik's name was whispered on the wind, his vendetta escalating into a full-scale attack. Kyle's growl rolled like thunder, echoing through the forest. "Stay close," he ordered, amber eyes blazing. "I will destroy anyone who touches you." Mara's bloodline flared, revealing the hidden power she had sensed, the ability to manipulate not only the forest, but the very energy of the pack, amplifying their strength and striking fear into enemies. She channeled it, roots and wind intertwining, creating a barrier and a battlefield under their control. The rival wolves hesitated, caught off guard by the sudden surge of supernatural power. Kale moved beside Mara, fighting with lethal precision, but his attention never left her. Every strike, every block, every growl was fueled by possessiveness, desire, and the unbreakable bond they shared. During the heat of the battle, Kale pulled Mara close, lips brushing hers in a fiery, possessive kiss that left both of them breathless. "You're mine," he growled, amber eyes smoldering. "Completely. Do you understand?" "I am yours," Mara whispered, pressing herself against him, feeling the heat of his body and the power of their connection surge through her. "Completely, always." The rival pack was forced to retreat, unable to counter the combined might of Mara's awakened bloodline and Kale's alpha power. The forest fell silent once more. save for the heavy breaths and racing hearts of the pair who had stood united against the storm. Cale held Mara tightly, pressing his forehead to hers, amber eyes softening with pride, passion, and possessive intensity. "You've grown beyond anything I imagined," he murmured. "Stronger, braver, my mate, my omega, mine entirely." Mara's hands traced the line of his jaw, heat and desire coursing through her. "Well, we are unstoppable together," she whispered, lips brushing his chest. Kyle's possessive growl rumbled through his chest as he pressed her closer, lips capturing hers in a deep, consuming kiss. "Always," he breathed. "Always together, always mine." The forest seemed to acknowledge them, leaves rustling softly, moonlight glimmering across their forms. Eldenwood had witnessed the full awakening of Mara's bloodline power, the unbreakable bond between her and Cale, and the fierce, all-consuming love that tied them together. Yet Mara knew, as she pressed against him, that this was not the end. Secrets remained, enemies lingered, and the ultimate test of their love, power, and unyielding bond was still to come. Part 20. Destiny fulfilled. The moon hung high over Eldenwood, casting a silver glow across the forest that trembled with tension. Mara and Cale stood together at the heart of the den, bodies pressed close, senses intertwined, and bloodline power blazing like wildfire through Mara's veins. Ravik and his fully assembled faction had returned, more determined, more dangerous. The air vibrated with the anticipation of battle, the scent of rivalry, and the unspoken knowledge that this confrontation would decide everything. Power, survival, and the unbreakable bond between the Alpha King's pup and his Omega. Cale's amber eyes blazed, muscles coiled, tail lashing in controlled fury. "Stay behind me," he growled, though his tone softened as he brushed his forehead against Mara's. "But you will fight with me. Together." Mara nodded, her bloodline thrumming, a hidden strength she had never fully harnessed before now surging through her. "Together," she whispered, determination blazing in her eyes. The rival pack lunged. Cal moved with lethal precision, striking with unmatched power, while Mara's bloodline amplified the forest itself. Trees twisted into barriers, roots surged from the ground to ensnare intruders, and the wind became a weapon, hurling enemies off balance. Ravik attacked, fierce and relentless, teeth bared for the kill. Cale intercepted him with a powerful growl, but Mara stepped forward, unleashing her full bloodline. Energy rippled outward, a golden aura surrounding her and Cale, creating a force that repelled the rival Alpha's attacks. "You are mine," Cale growled, amber eyes locking onto hers, full of possessiveness and desire. "No one touches you, no one." "I am yours," Mara whispered back, her power radiating, connecting to him in the pack. Completely. Always. Together, they became unstoppable. Mara's energy flowed through the forest and into Kyle, amplifying his strikes, guiding him, and creating an unbreakable shield around them. Each enemy that approached was met with coordinated precision. Mara's power, Kyle's strength, and the bond that had been forged through love, trust, and desire. Finally, Ravik, exhausted and defeated, staggered back, realizing he could not overcome the force of the bonded mates. With a last, desperate howl, he retreated into the shadows, leaving Mara and Cale victorious. Cale pulled Mara into his arms, amber eyes blazing with pride, possessiveness, and longing. "You were incredible," he murmured, lips brushing hers in a fierce, intimate kiss. "My Omega, my mate, mine entirely." Mara pressed herself closer, breathless, heart racing. We did it together," she whispered. "Stronger than ever." Cale's hands roamed possessively, holding her close, grounding her in the heat of his presence, and claiming her fully. "Always together," he growled, lips capturing hers again in a deep, passionate kiss that left no doubt about their bond. "Always mine, forever mine." The forest seemed to sigh, leaves rustling in approval, moonlight glimmering over their entwined forms. Eldenwood had witnessed the full awakening of Mara's bloodline, the culmination of their battles, and the unbreakable love that bound them together. For the first time, Mara and Cale could breathe. The rival packs had been defeated, the threats neutralized, and their bond had proven unshakable. They stood together, fierce, united, and utterly consumed by passion and love. Mara rested her head against Cale's chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart beneath her hands. "Cale, I never imagined it could feel like this," she whispered. "To be protected, to be loved, to be yours." Cale's amber eyes softened, his possessive growl vibrating in his chest. "You are mine," he said again, voice husky, passionate, and absolute. "And I will never let anyone take you from me, not ever." The forest around them shimmered with the energy of their bond, the power of her bloodline, and the fire of their love. Eldenwood had witnessed the rise of a new force. Cal and Mara, Alpha and Omega, bound by destiny, blood, and desire, united forever. And as they held each other under the silver glow of the moon, Mara knew one thing with certainty: this was only the beginning of their reign, their love, and their unstoppable, eternal bond. Part 21. Forever bound. The sun rose over Eldenwood, casting warm golden light across the den. Birds chirped softly, leaves rustled in gentle breezes, and the forest seemed to hum with peace. A stark contrast to the battles that had once raged under its canopy. Mara stood atop a small hill overlooking the den, Kyle beside her, his massive form protective and unwavering. Her bloodline had fully awakened. Yet she no longer felt the fear or uncertainty that had once accompanied it. Now it was a gift, a source of strength, connection, and unshakable confidence. Kyle's amber eyes softened as he watched her, possessive heat mingling with pride. "You've grown beyond anything I imagined," he murmured, his voice low and intimate. "Stronger, fiercer, mine in every way that matters." Mara smiled, resting her head against his chest. "And I have you," she whispered. "Always, my alpha, my protector, my mate." Their bond radiated, a force so powerful that the pack itself seemed to respond. Wolves gathering nearby, calm and loyal, acknowledging Mara and Kale as the heart of their world. The Alpha King's pup, who had once hated every woman, had found the one who would stand beside him forever, and the Omega, who had once been powerless, had become the center of strength, love, and destiny. Kale pressed his lips to her forehead, amber eyes gleaming with desire and devotion. "Mine completely, and no one will ever change that." Mara lifted her gaze, meeting his, feeling the fire of their passion and the certainty of their love. "And I'm yours completely," she said, voice soft but unwavering. The forest whispered around them, leaves rustling gently as if celebrating the bond that had been forged in fire, battle, and unbreakable love. The past dangers, rival packs, and trials had only strengthened them, binding them together in ways neither could have imagined. As Kale wrapped his arms around her, holding her close, Mara felt a sense of peace she had never known. The battles were over, the threats vanquished, and their love stood unshakable, eternal. Together, they looked out over Eldenwood, knowing the future would bring challenges, but also knowing that whatever came, they would face it side by side. Fierce, fearless, and bound by blood, destiny, and desire, Kale and Mara were unstoppable. The Alpha King's pup and his Omega, forever bound, forever united, and forever in love. And under the golden light of dawn, Eldenwood seemed to smile, a testament to the power of their bond and the promise of a future written together. Part 20c. A future of fire and love. Weeks had passed since Eldenwood had seen its last battle. Mara and Kale stood together at the highest cliff overlooking their territory, the wind tussling Mara's hair and Kale's fur. The forest below was alive with peace and harmony, every wolf in the pack moving confidently under the guidance of its true leaders. Mara's bloodline, now fully awakened, pulsed through her with a rhythm that resonated in every corner of the den. She could sense the heartbeat of the forest, the energy of every pack member, and the unbreakable bond she shared with Kyle. Her power was no longer a threat. It was a gift, a force of protection, love, and unity. Kyle's amber eyes scanned the horizon, protective and intense, yet softened as he gazed at Mara. "You've become everything I ever hoped for, and more," he said, voice low, possessed, and intimate. "The Alpha King's pup has finally found his mate, his equal, his heart." Mara smiled, resting her head against his broad chest, feeling the heat of his body and the steady beat of his heart beneath her hands. "And I've found my Alpha, my protector, my love." Forever, they stood together, the bond between them unshakable, their hearts and souls intertwined. Around them, the pack moved with newfound confidence, inspired by the strength and love radiating from their leaders. Eldenwood was no longer just a territory. It was a sanctuary, a home, a kingdom ruled not by fear, but by devotion, power, and unbreakable loyalty. Kale pressed his lips to Mara's forehead, amber eyes smoldering with passion. "Mine entirely. And nothing will ever change that," he whispered. Mara looked up at him, eyes shining with desire and certainty. "And I'm yours," she said softly, "completely always." As the sun rose higher, golden light spilling across the trees, Mara and Kale embraced, letting the world fall away. Battles, rivalries, and trials were behind them. The future stretched out endlessly, filled with promise, passion, and the unshakable certainty of their love. From that day forward, Eldenwood knew peace. But more than that, it witnessed the rise of a bond that would be legendary, the Alpha King's pup and his Omega, fierce, fearless, and forever bound by blood, destiny, and desire. And while challenges may one day return, Mara and Kale knew that together, there was nothing they could not face. For they had each other, and that was all that truly mattered.